Family vacations had always been predictable. Logan got luxury, and I got leftovers. My younger brother, the undeniable golden child, was the center of my parents' world. Birthdays? His were grand affairs, mine barely acknowledged. College? They funded his every need while I scraped by on loans and late shifts. If he wanted something, it was his. If I wanted something, I was an afterthought. But this trip, this was the moment I decided I was done playing second place. It was supposed to be a family getaway to Las Vegas, but as expected, Logan's comfort was their priority. He picked the restaurants, the activities, and the suite. Except, as I overheard one night, they couldn't quite afford it. "We'll just put him on the couch," my dad had said dismissively, not even bothering to say my name. "Logan needs a proper bed." That was the moment something inside me snapped. I was 27, financially stable, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't about to let them treat me like an afterthought. When we arrived at the hotel, a 5-star gem in the heart of Manhattan, my mother confidently slid her credit card across the counter. "We have a reservation under Sullivan," she announced. The receptionist typed, then hesitated. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't see any reservation under that name." My mother's smile faltered. "That's impossible. I booked the executive suite weeks ago." The receptionist shook her head. "We don't have anything under your name." That's when I stepped forward, casually flashing my phone screen. "That's because I made the reservation." My father snapped his head toward me. "What?" I smirked, tilting the screen so they could see the confirmation email. "Yeah, see, after I overheard your plan to shove me on a couch like an unwanted guest, I figured I'd handle the booking myself." Silence. The realization hit like a slap. The receptionist brightened. "Oh, yes, sir. We have a reservation under your name for the penthouse suite." My mother's jaw went slack. My father just blinked, trying to process what he'd just heard. And Logan? His face twisted into pure disbelief. "The penthouse?" my mom stammered. I nodded. "Yep. Turns out, when you're not funneling all your money into one kid, you can afford some pretty nice things. And since I am technically on this trip, I figured I might as well be comfortable." The receptionist continued, oblivious to the family meltdown in progress. "Your penthouse suite includes a master bedroom, a secondary bedroom, a full living area, and a private terrace overlooking Central Park." My parents exchanged looks, then turned to me, then to Logan, whose face was quickly morphing into that of a child denied a toy. "You're joking," my dad finally muttered. I just grinned. "Nope. And you know what the best part is? There's plenty of space, but only for me." I folded my arms, leaning against the counter as they stood there in stunned silence. "Nope. And since I booked the room, I get the master. You guys can figure out the rest." Logan's scowl deepened. "You can't be serious." I grinned. "Oh, I'm very serious." My mother, always the self-appointed peacekeeper, tried to smooth things over. "All right, well, we'll just have them bring in an extra bed. Logan can—" I actually laughed. "Oh, that's adorable." Number I let the word settle. "No one is sharing my bed. You're welcome to the secondary bedroom. And if you need extra space, there's always the couch. But that king-sized suite, that's all mine." For the first time in my life, I held the upper hand. I watched the realization wash over them, the weight of my words sinking in. They weren't in charge here. I was. I let the moment stretch, watching them shift uncomfortably. Then, with a satisfied smirk, I plucked the key card off the counter, flashed a polite smile at the receptionist, and said, "Thanks. I'll head up now." I didn't wait for them to protest, didn't check if they needed help, just turned and walked away, leaving them standing there like guests in my vacation. The penthouse suite? It was everything. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a breathtaking view of Central Park, a massive living space, a full dining area, and the bedroom? Glorious. A king-sized bed piled high with plush pillows, a bathroom bigger than most apartments, and a private terrace with a view that screamed luxury. I kicked off my shoes, sprawled across the bed, and stretched out like I owned the place. Then came the knock. Sharp, impatient, predictable. I took my time answering. When I finally opened the door, Logan stormed in first, my parents trailing behind. "You can't do this," he snapped, like a child whose favorite toy had just been snatched away. I leaned against the door frame, arms crossed. "Do what?" "Take the best room," my mom said, as if I had personally offended her. "You know Logan has trouble sleeping in small beds." I gave her a blank stare. "That sounds like a Logan problem." My dad let out an exasperated huff. "We're a family. We should be staying together." I let out a dry laugh. "Oh, now we're a family? That's funny. I don't recall you worrying about that when you decided I'd be sleeping on the couch." Silence. Logan scoffed. "Whatever. Just switch rooms with me." I tilted my head. "Are you even hearing yourself?" "Come on, it's not a big deal," my dad added. "You don't even care about stuff like this." I pushed off the wall, taking a slow step toward him. "You're right. I used to not care, because caring didn't matter. No matter what I did, Logan always came first." I let my gaze drift between them, letting the truth settle. But guess what? I booked the room. I paid for it. And I do care now. Logan's glare burned into me. "Stop acting like some big shot. You're just being petty." I smirked. "Oh, you have no idea how petty I can be." My mother sighed, rubbing her temples. "So where are we supposed to sleep?" I shrugged. "There's a second bedroom." My dad's voice tightened. "It only has one bed." I shrugged again. "Yeah, crazy how that works." Logan clenched his fists. "I'm not sleeping on a couch." I grinned. "Not my problem." They left in a fury, dragging their luggage down the hall, whispering and snapping at each other as they realized there was nothing they could do. Meanwhile, I indulged in a long, luxurious shower, wrapped myself in a plush robe, and ordered room service. Filet mignon, wine, dessert. I stretched out on the private terrace, soaking in the view, while my family stewed in their frustration. But I knew them. This wasn't over. The next morning, I woke up feeling amazing. No guilt, no regrets. That bed? Perfection. Then I checked my phone. Missed calls, texts. One from my mother. "We need to talk. Meet us downstairs for breakfast." I sighed, tossing my phone onto the bed with a smirk. Of course. Fine. Let's see what they had to say. As I stepped into the restaurant, they were already seated, the table overflowing with a lavish breakfast spread. Flaky pastries, perfectly arranged fruit, steaming eggs, the works. They were eating well, but I had no doubt I was the real item on the menu. Let's see what game they're playing now. I slid into my seat, my tone casual. "Morning?" Dad cleared his throat, ever the one to take charge when things weren't going his way. "Look, let's just get to the point." I arched an eyebrow. "By all means." Mom leaned in, her voice dripping with a faux warmth. "We've been thinking, maybe we should rebook a bigger suite, something more comfortable for everyone." Ah, there it was. The manipulation, neatly wrapped in a thin veil of reason. "You mean something that works for Logan," I said flatly. She ignored the jab. "If we all pitch in, we can upgrade." I took a slow sip of my coffee. "And how much are you putting in?" Silence. A beat too long. Then Dad sighed like I was the difficult one. "We were hoping you'd cover it." I nearly spit out my drink. I stared at them, waiting for the punchline, but they were serious. A sharp laugh escaped me. "You cannot be serious." Logan shifted, glancing away. "It's not a big deal. You already spent money on the penthouse." "Exactly," I said, leaning back. "My money, my choice. If you want a bigger suite, you pay for it." Dad pinched the bridge of his nose. "Why are you being so difficult?" I set my cup down and met his eyes. "Why are you acting like I owe you anything?" My voice was steady, controlled, but there was steel underneath. "You didn't have a problem shoving me onto a couch to make Logan comfortable. But the second the tables turn, suddenly it's unfair?" Logan rolled his eyes. "You're making such a big deal out of this." I turned to him, my voice quiet, sharp. "And you've spent your whole life getting exactly what you want. Maybe it's about time you learned what it feels like to come second." Silence. A heavy, loaded silence. Logan shoved his plate away and stood abruptly. "Whatever. I'm not doing this." Mom let out a dramatic sigh, shaking her head. "I just don't understand why you're being so selfish." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "Selfish?" I stood, tossing my napkin onto the table. "You raised me to be the one who always compromised, who always made room for Logan, who always gave up what I wanted." I met their eyes, one by one. "Not anymore." And with that I walked away, leaving them in stunned silence. But as I stepped into the elevator, something in my gut told me they weren't done yet, and neither was I. I thought they'd sulk, complain amongst themselves, maybe let it go once they realized I wasn't backing down. But no, I should have known better. That afternoon, I wandered the city alone, walked through Central Park, grabbed a coffee from a quiet little cafe, even browsed a bookstore with no one rushing me. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. No expectations, no obligations, no one demanding I fall in line. Then my phone buzzed. "Mom. Hey, sweetheart. We feel terrible about this morning. Can we do a family dinner? Our treat, just to reset things." I stared at the screen. I didn't trust it, not one bit. But some foolish, lingering part of me, the one that still wanted to believe they were capable of change, hesitated. Maybe this was an olive branch. Maybe they finally got it. Against my better judgment, I texted back. "Sure, biggest mistake of my life." They picked an upscale steakhouse near the hotel. Private booths, dim lighting, the kind of place where people brokered business deals over overpriced wine. When I arrived, they were already seated, dressed like this was some high-stakes negotiation. "Hey," I said slowly, sliding into the booth. Mom beamed, all warm and welcoming. "We're so glad you came." Dad flagged the waiter and ordered a bottle of wine. Logan was uncharacteristically quiet, stirring his drink with his straw. Something was off. I could feel it. Dinner started out. Normal, small talk, forced laughter, overly polite niceties, too nice. Then, halfway through the meal, my dad cleared his throat. "So, we had a little chat with the hotel." My stomach dropped. Mom gave me a tight practice smile. I set my fork down slowly, my stomach tightening with suspicion. "A mix-up?" "What?" My voice was steady, but my grip on the table tightened. Logan leaned back, arms crossed, a smug little smirk tugging at his lips. "Yeah, apparently the hotel overbooked the penthouse suite." I narrowed my eyes. "That's funny. I didn't get a call about that." Dad shrugged, feigning nonchalance. "Well, they called us. Since we originally planned the trip, they said they could move you to a more reasonable room." And just like that, I saw it. The setup. They had lied to the hotel, spun some fabricated story about how I wasn't supposed to have that room. Maybe they claimed it was a mistake. Maybe they implied I had booked it impulsively and needed their intervention. Either way, they had tried to outmaneuver me. I let out a slow, measured breath. You manipulated the hotel. Mom reached for my hand, her expression soft, her voice dripping with rehearsed concern. Sweetheart, this whole thing has just gotten out of control. We're just trying to fix it. Logan scoffed. Yeah, so let's just go back, switch rooms, and be done with it. And there it was, the truth behind their performance. They weren't sorry. They weren't trying to make things right. They were trying to put me back in my place, back under their thumb. I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. No. Mom's smile faltered. What? I tilted my head. I said no. Dad sighed, rubbing his temples like I was the difficult one. Why are you making this so hard? Logan rolled his eyes. Dude, just take the smaller room. It's not a big deal. A laugh, sharp, bitter, escaped me before I could stop it. Not a big deal? You three went behind my back, lied to the hotel, tried to steal my reservation, and you have the audacity to act like I'm the problem. Mom's voice dipped into that soft, practiced tone, the one she used whenever she wanted to manipulate me. Honey, it's just what's fair. I stared at her, the words settling bitter in my mouth. Fair? I pushed my chair back and stood, my voice steady but cutting. You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been treating me like an equal my whole life. Fair would have been respecting the fact that I booked that damn suite. Fair would mean not pulling this sneaky backstabbing stunt just because you didn't get your way. The restaurant had gone silent. People were watching. Let them. I pulled out my wallet, dropped some cash on the table, and straightened my jacket. Enjoy your dinner. I'll be at the hotel, in my penthouse. And with that, I walked out. By the time I reached the hotel, my blood was boiling. I didn't hesitate, didn't even take a breath before marching straight to the front desk. The hotel manager looked up and smiled. Good evening, Mr. I cut him off. Did my parents call about my reservation? His smile faltered. I folded my arms. I know they did. I want to know exactly what they told you. He hesitated, then sighed. They claimed you booked the suite by mistake, that you were supposed to be in a standard room, and they were handling the correction for you. I clenched my jaw. And you believed them? Well, they seemed very certain, and I pulled out my phone, flipping to my confirmation email. Here's my reservation, my payment confirmation. My name is on the account. I booked this room. My parents have no authority over my stay. His face paled. Oh, I echoed, my voice flat. I leaned in slightly. So here's what's going to happen. First, you're not changing my reservation. Second, you're flagging their account so they can't make any requests regarding my room again. And third, I gave him a slow, pointed look. If anyone tries to touch my reservation again, I won't just take my business elsewhere. I'll make sure every review site knows exactly how this hotel lets guests get screwed over by manipulative family members. His eyes widened. Understood, sir. I'll take care of it immediately. Damn right you will. I turned, headed straight for the elevators, and the moment I stepped into my suite, I locked the door behind me and poured myself a drink. Then my phone started buzzing. Mom, why would you do that? We were just trying to help. Dad, that was completely unnecessary. You embarrassed us. Logan, wow, you really just ruined the whole trip. Selfish. I stared at the messages. Then I laughed, took a sip of my drink, and blocked their numbers. The moment I blocked all three of them, A deep satisfaction settled over me. I leaned back against the plush pillows, letting the weight of their manipulation roll off my shoulders as I took in the skyline view from my penthouse suite. The next morning, I woke up feeling fantastic. I stretched out across the massive bed, relishing the contrast, me basking in luxury while they were crammed into a tiny, uncomfortable room, stewing in their own entitlement. I checked my phone, still blocked. Perfect. But I wasn't finished. They wanted to play dirty? They wanted to manipulate me? Oh, they had no idea who they were dealing with. Dressed in my best, I made my way to the concierge. "Good morning, Mr. Mao, last name." She greeted me with a bright smile. I returned it. "I need a favor. Could you set up a full spa day for me? Massage, facial, sauna, the works." She nodded, starting to type. "And charge it to my parents' room." She hesitated. "I'd have to check if—" I slid a crisp $100 bill across the counter. She took it with a knowing smile. "Of course, sir." After a blissful afternoon of luxury, thanks, Mom and Dad, I stopped by the hotel's boutique. A sleek designer watch, a ridiculously overpriced leather wallet, a silk tie I had no intention of wearing. Every last item charged straight to their room. Let's see how they liked footing the bill for someone else's indulgence. But the real masterpiece? That came later. That evening, I made a quick call to the front desk. I'd like to arrange a special romantic dinner for my parents in their room. The receptionist perked up. "That sounds wonderful. Candles, champagne, rose petals." I grinned. "Perfect. And make it for 2. A pause. "Only 2. My smirk deepened. "Yes, just 2. A soft giggle. "Understood, sir." An hour later, my phone buzzed. "Mom, why is there a romantic dinner in our room? Where's Logan's meal?" I took a slow sip of my wine before replying. "Me. Oh, sorry. I just figured since you always put Logan first, you'd enjoy some time alone with him." Silence. Then, another call, this time from the hotel manager. "Mr. Taylor's name. Your parents are at the front desk, demanding an explanation for the charges on their room." I didn't even try to contain my grin. "Tell them, I hope they enjoy their treats. Oh, and make sure they can't reverse the charges. After all, they told you they were handling my room situation, right?" A pause. Then the manager laughed. "I'll take care of it, sir." Damn right he would. Later that night, as I enjoyed a drink on my private terrace, soaking in the view of the city, a furious pounding rattled my door. I took my time answering. When I finally swung it open, there they were, my parents, livid, with Logan sulking behind them like a kid denied his favorite toy. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" my dad snapped. I leaned against the doorframe, unbothered. "Oh, just treating you the way you've treated me my entire life." My mom's face burned red. "You charged thousands of dollars to our room." I smirked. "Oh, don't worry, you're handling it, right?" Dad's fists clenched. "This is childish." I shrugged. So was lying to the hotel and trying to steal my room. So was always putting Logan first. I crossed my arms. "Now you finally know what it feels like." Logan muttered, "This is insane." I turned to him, voice razor sharp. "You think this is insane? Try being the kid who was always in second place. Try watching your brother get handed everything while you're left with nothing." I let out a slow breath. "You built this mess. I'm just making sure you live in it." They stood there, stunned into silence. I smiled, stepped back, and started closing the door. "Enjoy your tiny room." Clicked, locked. The next morning they were gone. No goodbye, no last-ditch effort to guilt me. Just a rushed checkout and an early flight home. I, however, stayed the rest of my trip, soaking in every moment of freedom. When I finally checked out, The hotel manager grinned. Your parents looked very unhappy when they left. I smirked. Good. Then I handed him another tip, for making sure my room was never touched. Final thought? My parents and Logan haven't spoken to me in months. Best. Silence. Ever. And the best part? I still have the designer watch they unwillingly bought me. Every time I wear it, I smile. Because for the first time in my life, I won.